Okay, so let's talk about a medical problem that has been causing unimaginable pain for over 7,000 years. Seriously, 7,300 years. Now, what if I told you the solution, after all that time, wasn't some ridiculously complex new drug, but a brilliantly simple idea that's changing everything? Right now, let's dive in.
That's not a typo. For over 7 millennia, this painful, debilitating genetic disorder has been a shadow hanging over millions of families all around the world.
We're talking about sickle cell disease. And the most devastating part of it is something called a vaso-occlusive crisis, or what patients just call a pain crisis. Think of it like a medical runaway train. And until now, the only thing doctors could do was try to clean up the mess after the crash had already happened.
So, to really get why this new discovery is such a massive game changer, we first have to understand the battle that's been happening inside the body for all these thousands of years.
Okay, so during a crisis, the body is literally at war with itself. Your red blood cells, which are supposed to be round and squishy, suddenly twist into this rigid sickle shape. They create these tiny microscopic log jams in your smallest blood vessels. And just like a traffic jam on the freeway, nothing can get through. Tissues are starved of oxygen, and that starvation creates a level of pain that is just unimaginable.
But here's the big question. What if that whole process wasn't instant? What if there was a small window of opportunity, a moment where you could actually reverse the damage before it even really starts? Well, that's the question that led to this whole breakthrough. Now, this right here is the critical scientific piece of the puzzle. It turns out sickling happens in 2 stages. Think of it like bending a paperclip. In the early stage, on the left, the change is reversible. If you can just get some oxygen back to that cell, it pops right back to its normal shape. But if you wait too long, it's like bending that paperclip back and forth until it breaks. The damage becomes permanent. That cell is now irreversibly sickled, and you've hit the point of no return.
This chart just lays it out perfectly. You see that fork in the road? A trigger starts that initial reversible sickling. If you intervene right there, you can stop the crisis. But if you don't, you're headed down that other path to irreversible damage, intense pain, and all the awful complications that come with it. The only thing separating those 2 paths is time. And that little window of time? It has a name. Dr. Sota Omoigui, a Nigerian US-based physician, is the one who identified it and called it the golden half hour. It's that critical 30-minute period right at the start of symptoms where you have the power to stop the crisis before it truly takes hold. So, if the problem is a lack of oxygen in a very specific window of time, what's the solution? This is where it gets so beautiful in its simplicity. We're not talking about a billion-dollar drug here. We're talking about applying a known principle at the perfect moment. Dr. Omoigui connected the dots from a century of research and put it all together in a groundbreaking hypothesis published in the journal Medical Hypotheses. He basically asked a simple but profound question that challenged over 100 years of medical practice.
Why wait to get to a hospital? What if patients could treat themselves right at home the second they feel that pain inside that golden half hour? The solution he proposed flips the entire treatment model on its head. Instead of reacting to a full-blown emergency, you prevent it from ever becoming one. And here is the protocol he developed. It's incredibly straightforward. The moment a person feels that first twinge of pain, they just pop on a nasal cannula which is connected to a home oxygen source. That could be an oxygen concentrator or a small cylinder. That little bit of low-flow oxygen immediately starts pushing oxygen back into the blood, those reversible cells pop back to their normal shape, and the crisis is stopped dead in its tracks.
Okay, so the theory sounds amazing, right? But the big question is always, does it actually work in the real world? Well, a study of 98 patients in Nigeria put this to the test, and honestly, the results are just staggering. Just look at this chart. The bar on the left is the average number of times people were admitted to the hospital before they started using home oxygen. Now look at the right. After they started the therapy, the number just collapses. It's incredible. That's a 79% reduction in hospital admissions. Think about what that means. That's a life-altering, revolutionary change for families who are basically living with a packed bag ready for the next traumatic trip to the ER. And it gets better. The need for blood transfusions? That dropped by a massive 80%. I mean, that means less risk, less cost, and way less strain on the entire medical system. And behind all these amazing stats are real people, real families. One parent in the study said this, and it just hits you right in the heart. For the first time in 12 years, I truly saved money this year because my son did not have frequent hospitalizations. This isn't just about medicine, it's about giving families their lives back.
You know, this discovery was announced on July 4th, 2024. And it's no exaggeration to say that for the sickle cell community, that date could become a new kind of Independence Day. Because this isn't just a new treatment, it's a fundamental shift in how we approach chronic disease entirely.
To really get the scale of this, think back to what Banting and Best did in 1921 with the discovery of insulin. Before that, diabetes was basically a death sentence. Insulin turned it into a manageable condition. Well, what Dr. Omoigui has done is poised to do the exact same thing for sickle cell disease, transforming it from a life of reactive emergencies to a condition that can be proactively and peacefully managed at home.
It's a complete change in mindset. We're moving away from waiting for a disaster to happen and then trying to fix it, to giving people the power and the tools to stop the disaster from ever happening in the first place.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? From hopeless and helpless bystanders to first responders. For 7,300 years, patients and their families could do little but watch and wait for the pain to hit. Now, for the first time, they are empowered to act. This is the first solution in all that time that can actually prevent and stop a crisis in that golden half hour. So the final urgent question really is, how fast can we get this simple, life-saving solution into the hands of every single person on this planet who needs it?